Control C. Hello, everybody. My name is Taleoids, and today we're doing a little bit of a reaction video. We're gonna be checking in on something right here, right now, and yeah, I think we'd be pretty damn good to do it. Anyways, we're checking into Foundry. This video is based off of the idea of what if the world never ends, which, in my opinion, would be incredibly boring and at the same time kind of fulfilling. Oh, you thought life was gonna have some big bang, some boom, some final explosion as we drift into the stars, or the stars explode and come upon us, right? No, the world will go on with you, without you. And despite the fact that it is better when you're around, even after you do eventually die, it's never gonna end. It just becomes the same monotonous, ever driving fucking cog in the machine, the grand scale of the cosmos. Anyways, what else is there? Get Nebula, yeah. The link will be in the description, and I will give you the description. I'll give you their link in my description. That way you can go support them. Also, their Patreon as well, and yeah, these are all the same names as usual. Okay. Anyways, let's begin.
You couldn't die. What if you never had to work a day in your life? What if any problem you could ever think of had pretty much already been solved? It kind of sounds like I'm describing a perfect world here, doesn't it? A true utopia. You're probably already thinking, yeah, that sounds great, but where's the catch? And I get it. There almost always is one, right? Almost every utopia in modern fiction turns out, somehow, to be a dystopia. A world that appears free of any disease and crime actually turns out to be more of a eugenics program, selecting, breeding, and suppressing its populace for the sake of sameness. A post-scarcity capital.
I remember reading The Giver 2 years before going to middle school. Right? I was reading The Giver in elementary. Fucking hell. Funny enough, I think in like 7th grade or 6th grade, I then had to read The Giver again. So I read it at one point and then had to reread it. I was like, what the fuck am I reading? Seems weird to give that to children.
Happy all the time turns out, actually, to be a world where you don't have a choice but to be happy, even if it means being hooked on happiness chemicals 24/7.
Ah,
you
shit.
know the trope. But what if we just let there be a utopia? Didn't try to undermine it with some sinister catch. How would you write a story like that? In a perfect world, where's the conflict? Really... I know of exactly...
Oh, I just thought about the one... Okay, so, perfect world. Everything's right. There's no crime, no issues. And someone's internal battle is just going, I want to start trouble. I want to cause problems. And then, at the same time, they realize that by doing so, they would unset everything that's been created. They would basically be undoing all the work that's been done. And they're just like, I don't want to undo everything. I want to do something that's not normal. It's not boring. Everything's so monotonous. You can only jump off of so many skyscrapers. Just happen to be immortal and die. Wait a damn second. Oh yeah, that's a reference to Scythe. Oh, anyone ever read the Scythe books? Those are really good.
One story that really tackles this idea well. It's called 17776, and it's about a future so perfect, so free from all pain or trouble, that, surprisingly, people really start to miss those things. As it turns out, an eternity of boredom can be almost as scary as death. Are you enjoying the video so far?
Yes.
I hope so. We release one of these pretty much every week, which means that, after this one, you'll have to wait at least another 7 days for your next Foundry fix. Although, Technically, you don't really have to. We've
Mm-hmm.
actually made a ton of stuff that isn't up here on YouTube, like this video about the morphology of angels and why artists always give them wings, or this one about artificial life as a magic system. We even made a whole original series called Worldsmiths about our favorite authors and the unique landscapes of their minds.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, if you just don't want to wait for next week's YouTube video, the truth is, it's actually already out. That's right. You can watch it right now, ad-free, along with everything else I just mentioned, over on our streaming platform, Nebula. Visit
Yeah,
go.nebula.tv/TaleFoundry
Foundry.
to sign up for just $2.50 a month. It's honestly one of the cheapest and best ways to support the show. Thanks so much to everyone who checks it out. 17776 is a weird story.
What
It
the
was
fuck?
originally published back in July 2017 on the sports website SBNation.com by the site's creative director, John Boyce. SB Nation
That's
is,
a
by the
weird
way,
place.
an actual sports website that covers, real sports stuff, like news and analysis and statistics. The last place
Why is
you'd
it?
probably ever find me, and certainly the last place I would have expected to find what I would probably call the best science fiction work of the last decade. But that's
America's football
exactly what this
story.
is.
Written and
It's
illustrated
a
by John.
hard story to describe simply. I'm not sure you can say that 17776 really has a main character per se, but one of the storytellers is the satellite Pioneer 9. Yes, I do mean the real-life space probe that was launched by NASA back in 1968. After
Hmm.
thousands of years incommunicado, it spontaneously developed consciousness and now has quite a long time ahead of it to think about things. It spends a lot of this time chatting with its little sister probe, Pioneer 10, as well as the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, also known as JUICE. Again,
Huh.
real, actual space probes hurtling through space somewhere far, far away at this very moment. The story is basically just them trying to entertain themselves forever. Through chat logs, calendar pages, video clips, diagrams, old newspaper clippings, and a lot of Google Earth animations, we watched the three
What
discuss
the
the
hell?
state of humanity and the future they've emerged into after about 15,000 years. That's right. 17776 is the calendar year this is all happening.
Oh.
And things have
Okay.
changed. Since
What happened?
2026, humans have been mysteriously immune to aging and natural death. They also can't reproduce anymore. In the time since this mysterious change, they've developed and deployed nanotechnology which prevents any injury whatsoever, making the race functionally immortal. In this story, mankind's ageless dream has been achieved. A post-scarcity society where illness, war, poverty, and death are all things of the past. It is a true utopia, and we're looking at it from the outside.
Hmm.
Curiously, what we discover is that, in a world without problems, there is still conflict. No one ever discovers that the nanos are secretly mind-controlling them. There's no shadow cabal of aliens conducting a thousands of years long experiment on the species. Humanity really has found its way to a problemless existence, and found it boring.
Boring.
Each human wakes up every day and faces an existence that will never end. By this point, humans have explored space and found it empty and uninteresting. They've disproved the idea that the sun is going to burn out, so there's really nothing to dread. In any given city, there's a handful of people who have been the President of the United States.
Oh my
These humans have
god,
a
that
perfect
is.
world so completely within their
I didn't even
grasp.
think about the actual just ability to find more things to do. Because I was thinking about this as like, oh, they still die of old age, but there's no problems. But if you make them immortal with no problems, that's so much worse. That's like so much worse. The amount of torture. Hmm.
That they put up with fixable inconveniences like standing in lines just so everything isn't so mind-numbingly easy. What do you do if you find out you're going to live forever? You're never going to live on another world. You're never going to see heaven or hell. And you're never gonna be a cyborg with laser cannons for arms and shit. Juice asks Nine at one point in the story in an attempt to explain this phenomenon.
Well, I was gonna say, like, what's stopping you from trying to advance humanity past what you already have? You know, it's like, cut off your arm, replace it with a robotic one, become stronger, and, learn the weakness of your flesh. Although in this world, your weakness doesn't exist. There is no weakness of the flesh. Huh. Oh, okay, never mind. I just
Your
undid
finished
my own
form is the
ideas.
one who mows the lawn. That's a pretty hard fate to resign yourself to. If these humans haven't achieved everything they ever wanted to, they know with an inescapable certainty that someday they will. There's nothing they can do about it. Thanks to the nanos, they can't even kill themselves. There is nothing to look forward to. There is nowhere to go from here. There is
Because
only
nanos
this
keep you alive no matter
forever.
what. No matter what.
The
Oh,
conflict
fuck
in
no.
17776 is stagnation. Early on in the series, a curious fact becomes evident. Despite this ostensibly being a world 15,000 years in the future, the culture is almost identical to our own 21st century American one. Why? The mechanism of cultural change, Tan explains at one point, is largely generational. Without children being born, there are no restless young people looking to change the world. Instead, humans have become complacent. The same way your grandparents might prefer their old microwave from the 70s to buying a newer one that is objectively superior in every way. Humans are creatures of habit, and the ones in this story are no exception. They grew up in a world like this, and they keep its trappings far past the point of any usefulness. The story is full of bizarre little examples of this. One woman realizes she's moved into the exact same apartment she lived in a few thousand years earlier,
What?
and she's unknowingly arranged all her furniture in the exact same way.
That's such a Okay, that's a really neat thing to think about. Because I was like, okay, we're going into this, going into this. But so imagine it just gets down to a point where you're like, okay, how many different variable options do I have? And how long is it going to take me to eventually reach all these options? And after reaching every option possible, how long does it take before I repeat action? This is a very interesting idea to think about. Huh.
Someone goes through the Burger King drive-thru and orders not only food, but also $20, which the worker hands over alongside the meal. Then the customer pays $7.73 out of that money for the food. Why even bother using money anymore if it's so unnecessary that strangers just give it away for free? I mean, I guess the answer is that it's familiar. It's how the world works, even if it really isn't anymore. In the story, all of human society seems to be based upon the comfort of routine, simply because, now that time is no longer a finite resource, mystery is. At some point, with eternity laid out before them, isn't it inevitable that they'll know everything there is to know, see everything there is to see, do everything there is to do? They face a future where they might someday know every inch of the earth and its inhabitants as intimately as you know your bedroom. So, they have to ration uncertainty and excitement, drip-feed it, simply because they're afraid of running out. This is especially difficult for older humans, the ones who are near the end of their lives when the mysterious immortality moment happened, who had already watched most of their loved ones pass away
That's
and
so
make peace with their
fucked.
own impending death, only to have that peace.
It's like, I'll be with you soon. Any day now. I already had kidney disease. My fucking 18 toes were amputated not that long. My hand has been misconstrued as I just got into a car accident again. And now, oh shit, everything's getting fixed. No, 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 my wife!
Ripped away from them in a strange and wonderful miracle. A miracle many of their family members and friends were just a little too late to experience. Is this starting to sound a little less like a utopia to you? you're not the only one. In the story, a Christian missionary notes that church attendance has declined significantly simply because so many people think they're already in heaven. And when you think about it, that's not an unreasonable theory, is it? But he says he himself isn't so sure. I kind of look at the big long life ahead of me that stretches out forever and disappears, he says, and I get scared. I think, this can't be heaven if I'm scared, right? And then I think, maybe I am in heaven, and heaven is scary.
Okay, sorry. I love quotable lines like that when you can keep them and say them out of context and they still very much mean a lot of things. But the words. Actually, hold on. Let me go back just to make sure I say it correctly. Maybe I am in heaven, and heaven is scary. I feel this on a massive level. Like I, if you had known me for like last year till now, I feel this on a massive level.
Faced with an endless life of ennui, what do you do? How do you cope with all of that forever in front of you? One way is by learning to live in the moment. You can't focus on the eternity stretching away in front of you. You just don't have the ability to handle all that. And while it's inevitable that you will run out of big, epic stories, as long as there are creatures on Earth, there will always be an endless supply of little ones. Once you get past the big setup, the drastic changes to the species,
Also gonna say now. So do animals also just get infinity lifetimes, or do they not do it? If so, can I keep a single bird or a single pet and just happen to watch its generations die? Or that seems really fucked. Like, don't worry. Come on, Joy. Come on. I remember your great grandmama. Come on.
sentient space probes, the 15,000-year time gap, you find that those tiny moments are what 17776 is really about. It's full of all these wonderful little stories. A cave in Kentucky where robbers supposedly once hid treasure. A building in Nebraska made entirely out of sidewalk concrete. A man who had his name changed by a typo thousands of years ago and couldn't be bothered to fix it. These are the stories that modern-day residents of Earth often gloss over and overlook. Time is too limited. You want your experience to matter. You strive to find the big moments in the little window you've been afforded. But when that's not an issue, when time is no longer a finite resource, these little moments are, according to the story, the most important ones, the ones that truly make life worth living. I wonder if there's a single place in the whole world that's never had a story, a woman muses at one point. I bet not. I bet every little square of it, every place you stomp your foot, that's where something happened. Something wild, maybe something nobody knows about, but something. You run and run and run and keep turning pages and none of them are empty. They're all full of stories. There's nowhere left to write. Discovering those stories becomes one of the main ways humans, and these 3 space probes keeping watch over them from the emptiness of space, cope. The other way is by playing football.
What? Oh yeah, it was a
This story
sport
is actually
magazine.
known by 2 names, 17776, or What Football Will Look Like in the Future. But let's be honest, if I'd opened with that, would you have really given it a chance?
No.
I almost didn't read this story because sports, not exactly my wheelhouse, as you can probably imagine. With the erasure of all social ills, the only challenges that remain to humanity in the story
Or
are
each
the
other.
ones invented specifically by humans for humans. That is to say, games. There are actually a lot of games in 17776 and its sequels. One person even focuses on playing little LCD sports games from the 1990s, taking 200 or 300 years to completely master each one before moving on to the next. For our 3 satellites, it's the ageless game of American football. In the
What?
15,000 years since humans stopped dying, The sport as we know it has bloated and morphed into something almost completely unrecognizable.
What the fuck are they
Playing
doing?
fields are thousands of miles long. The first game we're introduced to boasts the entire state of Nebraska as the field, with the end zones, the areas where each team makes the touchdowns to score, being Wyoming and Iowa. One game
What?
running from the
How
Canadian
the
border to the
fuck
Mexican
does this
border
make
has
sense?
stalled at the bottom of a canyon in Arizona for almost 13,000 years. Neither team can scale the near vertical cliffs, and they can't go around them without going out of bounds and losing the game. So there they are, at the bottom of the canyon, stuck indefinitely, but unwilling to surrender. A game in Denver had a clever Steelers player successfully argue that the rules allowed each team to actually own part of the field. It's now divided into 58 disparate territories, each with a different
What the
owner.
fuck?
Nothing ever really happens in the game anymore, but people still occasionally pop into the stands to watch for a bit, thanks to Mile High Stadium's generous re-entry policy. Without having to worry about expense, practicality, or the physical constraints of the human body, game designers and players have truly let their imaginations run wild. This is the highlight of life.
Also, I'm gonna say this right now. If you gave me infinite time to do anything, all you would see me do is make art. You'd just see me animating all damn day. It's like, what are you doing? I'm creating the largest work of fiction that's ever existed. Larger than One Piece? What do you mean? Oda is still alive. No! I'll never achieve my dream! One Piece in this world will never end.
Life in 17776, but it's even more than that too.
Or, no,
It might
or
be
if
the
Oda finishes and he's like, hey, did you read One Piece yet? It's too long. It's like, bro, you're living for infinity. Read One Piece.
purpose of life in 17776. Humans, Ten says, are creatures of play. They will remain creatures of play until the end of time. When you read 17776, it is unavoidably about football, but only because it's also about moments, about finding ways to create moments, about the human need to be challenged and to surmount those challenges, about the stories that live inside of those triumphs and failures, about the stories that are told even when there is no challenge to confront, about how if you take away every single obstacle that challenges a human being, they will simply invent their own. This is a story about football, and it's a story about humanity, but it is not a story about winning. It doesn't matter in the end whether your team comes out with more points. It doesn't matter if mankind solves every problem and unlocks the secrets of immortality and abundance and peace. What matters is that the game is worth playing. And I'm afraid that's all for this week. Our next video will be coming out in a week from now, so I'll see you then. Unless, of course, you don't want to wait. We've actually made a ton of stuff that isn't up here on YouTube, like this video about the morphology of angels and why artists always give them wings, or this one about artificial life as a magic system. We even made a whole original series called Worldsmiths about our favorite authors and the unique landscapes of their minds. And, of course, if you just don't want to wait, next week's YouTube video is actually already out and ready to be watched. That's right. You can watch it right now, ad-free, along with everything else I just mentioned, over on our streaming platform, Nebula. YouTube is kind of a crazy place to make content. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy to have this platform, but you have to be so careful about your topic choices, your packaging, what you include in your videos. You just start to feel like you're walking on eggshells. Nebula doesn't have any of those concerns. It's an entirely different environment, devoid of all the weird YouTube cynicism. The entire platform was built by creators for creators. Every time you watch a video there, a creator you love is getting paid, and far more than they would ever get paid on YouTube. And on top of that, Nebula even helps its creators to fund incredible original content. You know, like our series, Worldsmiths. And we're not the only ones who have been busy over there. So many other amazing creators have started creating and sharing their own unique stuff on Nebula, like our friend Frankie from the channel A Bit Frank, or Tim from the channel Hello Future Me.
By the way, I'm gonna say this right now.
Heck,
The links
there's
will be
even
in
a
the
high
description. Go
production,
support the original VTuber work
independently
on
run
this.
sci fi audio drama over there called The Sojourn, which is just so good. I've been listening to it while working lately and loving every second of it. Nebula is just a really unique, fun, fresh environment. It kind of makes watching videos on the internet fun again. Speaking of which, here's the really fun part.
Mm-hmm.
Nebula is already cheaper than almost any other streaming platform on the internet. Like $2.50 per month. That cheap. All you have to do to get started is click the link in the description or go to go.nebula.tv/talefoundry and sign up for 1 year. That's it. Frankly, I'm not quite sure how they can afford to do all this, but I'm definitely not complaining. Seriously, take advantage of this offer while it's still going. I don't think any better one exists in the world of streaming.
Anyways, please, everyone, check them out, support them, love them, like them, subscribe to them, comment for them. Do so now. If you don't, you a hoe for real. And now here comes the part where I decide to plug myself. So, if you want to, you can comment on my video because you got something to say. I was trying to do all the extra energy shit, can't do it. Like the video if you enjoyed what I had to say and the things that happened in it. Comment because well, no, not comment again. Subscribe because you think that I'm somebody who's worthy your subscription, and also subscribe because you think that I am somebody who would, and I quote, you want to come back around and support. Yeah, I added links at the very bottom, two of them, and those links are for two different things. One of them is for membership. The other one is just all my socials. The membership link is if you want to really just check out anything that I've done a little bit early. Yeah. So far, all the stuff on there will eventually come out. There's nothing that's locked behind a paywall. I don't plan to do so anytime soon at the moment. Anyways, bye bye. Have a lovely day, and check out a lovely day. Well, check out this art. Check out these people. Ugh, fucking tongue-tied bastard. At least that's me.